I'm now joined by top-ranked UFC middleweight Tim Kennedy. Tim's had a fantastic 2013, going 3-0, and of course moving from Strikeforce to the UFC. Tim, thank you very much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. Now, there's been quite a little bit of a stink going on between you and the UK's own Michael Bisping, so of course we're going to pick that up. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about 2013. We saw you make your debut in the UFC in July against Roger Gracie. What was it like to finally make your UFC debut?
It was exciting. I've been fighting for a really long time. I fought for everybody, from the WC to Strikeforce, IFL. So being part of the world's biggest and best promotion, it was kind of surreal just having been a professional for so long and finally fighting in what they say is the big show is exciting.
Did you kind of feel like it was overdue? Because you've been considered for a long time now one of the top middleweights outside the UFC. Did you think that it was finally overdue that you got that call up?
No, I know everything has a time and a place, and I was just excited to be fighting there. And then fighting Hodger for my debut. He's a very tough guy, and I knew it was going to be a tough fight. So it was good. I didn't want an easy fight my first fight in, and I definitely didn't get it.
Now, in your second fight, which I really think your second fight was your kind of coming out party. You got to headline UFC Fight for the Night, and it was a fight for the troops, of course, which is something you've been involved with in the past. So, what was it like headlining that card?
That was probably the highlight of my career. I've been fighting for 13 years, 10 years, and that couldn't have been more of a dream come true to fight in front of an auditorium full of soldiers, and to be able to finish a fight in that fashion against such an amazing athlete like Natal. Like, I have a lot of respect for the guy. I think he's a very tough, underrated guy. So it was amazing. I was emotionally overwhelmed, and I went into that fight with an injury, and so I had a lot of concerns going into that fight, and everything just worked out.
He certainly is a tough guy, and it was a kind of like a ticking time bomb, really, because it was, if you had lost that fight, it would have really knocked you back, because even though he is a good fighter, and he's highly ranked, he's not as well known to the mainstream MMA guys. So it would have been like it was a big risk fight for you, wasn't it?
It was. I went from fighting. It was going to be Vito Belfort, and then it was going to be Leo Machida. So going from guys like that are marquee, UFC superstars, to then Natal, who I think is just as good, but just unknown, makes it very, very, very dangerous and scary for my career. But everything worked out. Like I said, everything happens for a reason, and that was I couldn't have wished for more.
Well, like I said, we've seen the back and forth banter, of course, between you and Michael Bisping. We all know that Michael Bisping's not one to quieten down. He likes to say his little bit, and of course, you're not one to back down either. So, what, let's talk a little bit about Michael Bisping then. Where's it come from that you decided you'd like to fight Michael Bisping?
Well, one, I think he is an amazing fighter. He's fought the best guys in the world. He's ranked higher than I am. So just from a fighting standpoint, it's exciting to be able to fight a guy that's ranked higher than you, that's fought guys that are more known than you. These are all things that every athlete wishes that he could do. So of course that's what I want, is to fight the better guys, and he is without a doubt one of those guys. I used to think he was kind of one-sided, but then after his fight with Chael Sonnen, I have a lot of respect for him as an athlete, knowing that he is a complete package of an MMA fighter. And now there's always been he fought one of my very good friends, Jorge Rivera, and I really didn't like how that fight went. And since that fight, I've always had my eye on him. I like clean. I like clean fights. You go out there, you do your bit. Hopefully, you get the W. But most importantly, put on a good show and fight clean, fight fair. I didn't think that happened in that fight. And since then, I've always had a beef with it because of that. Jorge Rivera, like I said, is my good friend. Matt Finney, who is in the corner, is also my very good friend. So I got to back my friends. And since that point, I've always kind of wanted to fight him.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the history there then. For those that I'm sure everyone's aware, but for those that maybe aren't aware, of course, Jorge Rivera's got a long history in the UFC. I mean, he's been there and done it. He was there back in the days when UFC wasn't that well known, of course. Then he was on the comeback season, and then he's had a great career from then. But he's always been a fighter that's always known for bringing it. He's an exciting fighter. He fought Michael Bisping. There was a lot of talk before the fight. I know Rivera did some videos which were brilliant, but Bisping for some reason seems to take offence to those videos. I think there was an illegal knee thrown in the fight, which landed flush in the face. Then, of course, at the end of the fight, I believe there was, well, allegedly there was some spitting as well. Is that what you're referring to when you talk about fighting dirty?
Yeah, that is exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah. So, I mean, the knee was obviously was bad, but I mean, I don't think there's ever any kind of excuse for spitting, is there? So that wasn't that wasn't Michael Bisping's best moment. I don't think he really seemed to let Rivera get into his head, didn't he, during the build up to that fight?
Yeah, yeah, he did. You know, the I know fights are emotional. You get emotionally charged in fights. But we're professional athletes. We're supposed to get there. We're supposed to weigh in. We're supposed to be on white, and then we're supposed to go in and fight a clean fight and put on a show. That's what we're supposed to do. There's not that much asked of us. So when I see guys that don't make weight, I'm real disappointed in them. It's one of the few things that we're supposed to do. We got to make weight. Got to go in there and fight clean. And he didn't fight clean. And from that point on, I'm like, come on, you're better than that. You're a professional.
Yeah, I get exactly where you're coming from. Now, I've had a few people that have sent me questions to ask. Some of them we've covered, but I'm just going to quickly reel off these questions for you. They're all related to you and Michael Bisping, which isn't really a surprise because it's obviously big in the news at the minute. And then I've got another fan who's asked for a prediction of a big middleweight fight we've got coming up, which of course is your weight class. So I'm just going to reel these questions off for you, and if some of them we've covered, just go through what we've said. But first of all, from Josh Hall. We've already covered this a little bit, but why particularly do you want to fight Michael Bisping? Which we've covered that. And what are your strengths and weaknesses against his style of fighting?
Well, I want to fight him. He's ranked higher. He's talented, and I want to fight the best guys in the world. And then, of course, having a long-standing problems with him, it's kind of works out perfect. And stylistically, I think he used to be a one-sided guy. His boxing is great. His footwork was great. But really, he's come into becoming a very, very well-balanced fighter. He displayed against Chael Sonnen and Brian Stann, both offensive and defensive wrestling. His jiu-jitsu, also in my opinion, is underrated. So I want to fight the best guys, and he's ranked 4 in the world right now. So without a doubt, he is one of the best guys.
Now I've got similar questions from Robert Martin and Spencer Ambrose. So they're basically the same question reworded. So we're not going to go for them. Next one I've got then is from Charles Marshall, and he says, "Where and when would you like to fight Michael Bisping?"
As soon as he's healthy. He had an eye injury, and the you know the last thing I want is to fight Michael Bisping when he's not his best. I want to fight him when he's his best. So he's as soon as he's able to start training again, I want to be able to give him time to get to 100% and then fight him. So I want Michael Bisping 100% healthy, and whenever that is, it'll be determined by him. I'm ready to go.
Okay, going off topic a little bit then, and then we'll come back finally and wrap up with Michael Bisping. But I've got a question for you from Hassan Abdul Jawad, and he says, "What's your prediction for Chris Weidman versus Vitor Belfort?"
Um, the the one of the few things I agree with Michael Bisping on is TRT. It's a horrible thing to for it to exist in MMA, and he is outspoken about it as I am. It's cheating. It's bad news. And I can't even say is it Vitor Belfort versus Chris Weidman. And if that's the case, just a normal Vitor Belfort, then I'm gonna have Chris Weidman. If it's steroided out Vitor Belfort, then I don't know. Um,
Would you like to see that fight take place in the US then, so at least it can be monitored properly? Because maybe there's a little bit of suspect that with him fighting in Brazil and the rules not as strict over there, because obviously there's different governing bodies wherever you go. Would you like to see that in one of the bigger US states?
oh, absolutely. You know, it needs to be in California or Las Vegas. You know, where the athletic commissions have um, an understanding of what to do about guys that have been previously dating for anabolic steroids like he has, and what to do about it.
Now, looking at you moving forward, then of course you're currently 2-0 in the UFC. A fight with Bisping, like you say, he's ranked number 4, and a win over Bisping. How far after that would you see yourself away from fighting for the title yourself? Because of course you are in the middleweight title picture.
You know, I fight Bisping, have a good performance against him. There's really, man, sky's the limit. You know, I think another marquee fight after that would be what I would expect. Um, but I think I would have another big fight after that before I was able to, um, to even be in discussions about the title picture.
Do you feel with the way the last 2 fights have gone, of course, with Chris Weidman and Anderson Silva, and of course, we wish Anderson Silva the best. It was a horrendous injury, but do you feel that that's opened that division up?
Yeah, the division's been kind of in a stalemate for a little bit, but Chris is so good. He's so talented. He's so dangerous. I don't know if opens up is the right word, but it definitely changed the layout of the division, and it's just exciting. You know, there's so many guys at such high levels right now. There's no telling, who's gonna. I think Chris Weidman's gonna be in that top position for a while, and so it's just gonna be exciting to see, who's gonna be there next.
You mentioned there a win over Bisping and then another marquee fight. Have you got any ideas on who that marquee fight you'd like to be, or are you just focusing for now on getting your next big fight and hopefully Michael Bisping?
Oh man, I just definitely have to. There's no looking past Michael. He is super dangerous. He's very talented, and I don't even want to think about anybody else besides him.
No, that's absolutely understandable. Okay, to wrap things up, then, it's certainly a fight that I think a lot of fans want to see. Of course, with Bisping's fighting style, with your fighting style, it's just going to be on paper. It sounds like it's going to be a great fight. What's your message then for Michael Bisping and the matchmakers to get this fight happening?
For every good fight, the ones that fans love to see and media want to see, there has to be emotion. There is plenty of emotion there. I don't think it's a small secret that we don't like each other. Stylistically, he's a guy that moves forward, and I only know one way to fight, and that's moving forward. Which means you got two guys trying to own the center of the ring. I could talk a little smack and be like, really his best chance to beating me is to run from me, to stay on the outside of the cage and to circle and use footwork. I don't know if he has that in him. I'll respect him if he tries, but what I want is Michael Bisping to meet me in the center and then see who's the best fighter. And if that's the case, then you're going to have fireworks. You're going to have a great fight, a fight that fans want to see, and a fight that that both of us would leave all busted up from.
Yeah, it's certainly, like I say, it's certainly a fight I would, of course, I love to see. Before we let you go then, Tim, obviously really appreciate you coming on and giving me your time today. It's been a real pleasure chatting with you.
Yes, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
And before we let you go, I just want to give you a chance to do any shout-outs. Want to shout out any friends, family, sponsors, and let people know about your Facebook and your Twitter?
Twitter and Facebook and Instagram are all the same. Tim Kennedy MMA. Most importantly, I got tons of sponsors. Just follow me on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. But fans, thank you for listening to these shows. This is what keeps us fighting. This is what keeps people in the seats. And I just appreciate you giving me the time to get on here, and everybody for listening.
My pleasure, Tim, and I can't wait to see you back in the octagon, and I hope we get to see that fight, Tim Kennedy versus Michael Bisping.
Thank you very much. I'm excited too.
Thank you for listening to this interview. If you would like more up-to-date interviews from the world of MMA, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. These interviews are powered by MMA Mental. You can follow them on Twitter at MMA Mental and like the Facebook page mmamental.com. YourMMA.tv. The Twitter handle is at YourMMA and the Facebook page is YourMMA. Also UFC Live and MMA Fighting. Please like both pages on Facebook.